Hello and welcome to a delayed Boomtown Hoops post-game show. We are late catching up on the Rockets Thunder Game 2. Unfortunately, Oklahoma City loses by 13 and enters a 2-0 series hole. 13-point loss, 15-point loss in Game 1. You could obviously look at them and say, but they were much different. Much different. Thunder were right in it up until the fourth quarter when everything just totally fell apart. They were outscored by 14 in the fourth, which means they were actually leading by 1 going into the final frame. We are joined for the first time by my man Jackson Harefield. Tell me what happened.
It was just a rough start to the quarter. We went with the lineup with Nader on the floor, and I mean, he just seemed kind of out of his depth. I mean, even guarding Austin Rivers. We went through this 5 or 6 minute stretch with no buckets, and at that point in time, I mean, you just can't dig a hole like that. Donovan sat on 2 timeouts, didn't make any changes. Let Shea, who had really got cooking with 13 in the third, just let him sit there on the bench waiting to come in. And from that point on, it was just a hole couldn't get out of.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of us were really encouraged by how things looked the first 3 quarters, considering how Game 1 went. Right up until that final quarter, Lu Dort returned in this one and did a really good job on James Harden. 21 points, 5 of 16. He was actually negative in the plus-minus. Tell me what happened in the fourth quarter. What was Billy doing?
Boy, we've had like several hours to let this breathe, and I'm still just really frustrated with, and Billy Donovan, I want to give him a lot of credit because the defensive game plan was clearly a lot better. I mean, the Rockets are not getting nearly as many open threes. In the first quarter, they made several contested threes. They're not going to continue to do that, and they didn't. They cooled off, and that's how the Thunder had the lead going into the fourth quarter. But in the fourth, to not have Lu Dort out there, and I understand that the 3-guard lineup with Gallinari and Adams is statistically the Thunder's best lineup, but this is not a normal team. This is a small ball Rockets team where Adams can get exploited, and Dort was doing such a good job guarding Harden. He held him to 10 points. He ended up with 21.
Right.
More than doubled his point total in just the final minutes against Dennis. I mean, Schroeder can't guard James Harden. He should have left Dort in there, whether that means putting him in for Adams, probably the most wise,
right,
or putting him in for Dennis. You have to have Lu Dort on the floor. And I get that Lu's not as much of an offensive threat as maybe Dennis is, but he did make a couple threes down the stretch of the game. Billy did a good job, I thought, making adjustments, but that was an egregious mistake to not have Lu Dort in the game at the end. And it cost us, honestly, in my opinion. It cost us because Harden put up 11 points in just a few minutes, and that helped the Rockets run away with it as our defensive rotations were just simply not as good. Lu makes such a big impact on defense. He had such a great game. It's crazy to not have him out there at the end. Unbelievable. I mean, I had Rockets fans hopping in my mentions the whole game saying that it was just Harden having a good game or having a bad game. It wasn't Lu. Lu wasn't doing anything. It was all Harden. Well, as soon as Lu comes out of the game, Harden more than doubles his points. It was Lu. He was doing it, and just a big mistake on Billy's part there.
Yeah, I agree. And there's quite a few Thunder fans calling for Billy's head here tonight. Cody, what would you have done differently? I mean, obviously you should be an NBA coach, so you are qualified to answer this question. What were you seeing out there? I mean, we didn't see Andre Robertson, so it's not like Dort came off the floor and was replaced by some, long wing defender. Was this just poor management or the Thunder not executing?
I think a lot of it has to do with just not executing on offense. You go two separate stretches of, I think there was one run they went 17-0 against us, and the other they went 15-0. I mean, when your shots aren't falling, it's going to be tough to beat anybody playing like that. And then, for some reason, I just don't know why we're not playing, our shooters when it comes to some of these games. If we're playing against the Rockets, they're going to be putting up these 3-point shots. We need to be playing, Muscala more, maybe some Nader minutes to try and spread the floor, because what they're doing is they're packing the paint, and we're not able to get in our drives and get thing cooking that way and manufacturing some points when they're playing like that and they're playing in a zone. So, there's a lot of different schematics that they got to fix. You thought that tonight that they could have, with how the Rockets shot, we could have, capitalized on that, but we didn't. So they went 2 of 8. The Rockets went 2 of 18 to end the second quarter, and we were only up by 6 going into the second half. So it's just tough whenever your shots aren't falling.
Look, this is off topic, and I don't know where you're at right now. You're clearly in the wilderness, but that entire segment, your mouth didn't move on my screen. So that was clearly some magic. I'm very impressed by that. Off topic, obviously. Where are you, bud?
That is, I am in Colorado for a bachelor party for a couple of my friends. So
Look at you go. All right. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough night, and I think you'll probably have a better time doing that. Jesse, you've been looking for the big SGA game. You got it. Unfortunately, it didn't result in the win. Talk to me about Shea.
Yeah, I thought he was aggressive from jump, and he was doing a really good job of taking what the defense was giving him. And there was even a moment, I think it was maybe in the first, where he was kind of down in the corner and Gallo was going to come set a screen for him, and he kind of shook him off because he wanted to go one-on-one. And I feel like that's how aggressive I was wanting him to be in previous games. And I mean, we've talked about how off he was, but I just could not ask for more from SGA in this game. I thought he looked amazing.
Yeah. I totally agree. He was aggressive. He looked smooth. Much better than game one. Much better than I think we've seen him throughout the bubble. So it was unfortunately one of those games where things didn't really work out for his superstar future Hall of Fame backcourt mate. Josh, when you're watching CP3 and Steven Adams out there, obviously they both had just atrocious individual plus minus, which there's a debate about whether that's a useful stat or not. But I mean, this was pretty bad. Were they just totally ineffective?
Yeah, I mean, I think Steven had a better game one than two, but I think his plus minus is maybe a little misleading. CP3 is not playing well. I mean, if you have the 3-guard lineup, Dennis, CP3, Shea, that's our three-headed monster. Shea cannot be far and away the best of that three. I mean, he's a baby out there. He's a little kid compared to CP3 especially, but Dennis is a veteran in the league too. I mean, those guys need to play better. I mean, Shea was doing so much. I mean, 31, he had a huge breakout game. Like I said before we went on the air, if you told me Shea scores 31 and Dort does that well on Harden, I'm thinking we for sure won the game. And so Chris Paul's just not playing well, and he's had an amazing year, and I've really enjoyed having him. I don't know, we talked about it a little bit in the game one post game, if it's just a in his head thing with playing the Rockets or what, but he is just not the same right now. He's not commanding the floor like we're used to seeing him. He's not getting to his the elbow jumpers that he just abused in the regular season. He's not getting to his spot nearly the same. He just doesn't look himself. And he said as much in the post game. He said, I got to be better. I mean, that's comes down to it. He's the leader of the team, and Shea it's tough to see Shea play so well and bring it. And the other guys of the three-headed monster didn't. It's tough, but I don't know. CP3 and Steve Adams is, not the best matchup of it. We know that for this team, but CP3 just needs to play better.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty much it. He has to play better. I wrote this wild story before the playoffs. The Thunder are going to win a championship if number one, Chris Paul has to be the point guard.
And he has. Not. Yeah, I mean he's played. I mean. Not that I have the the stats of all 80 whatever, or not 80, I guess however many games we've played at this point. These are two of his worst for sure. These two. So
absolutely. I think we all know Shea was the player of the game, so we don't have to go through that. So let's get into something I want us all to talk about here. Jackson, is this over? Can OKC turn this around?
I think they can. I don't know that I would say it's likely. You have a game like today where Harden shot 5 of 16 and Eric Gordon went 6 for 20, and they didn't have Westbrook, and yet we blew a big opportunity there. I mean, Chris Paul's got to play better. Schroeder's got to play better. I think there's got to be some changes. It's possible, but I don't feel
Jesse, how about you? Do you feel any more optimism?
After game one, I wasn't necessarily worried because I didn't think overall the Thunder played well. In this game, they had control of the game for most of it until they just absolutely broke down. So I'm definitely more worried now than I was after game one. I think seeing the performance from SGA was big today. Chris Paul and Dennis are going to have to do more, and I was pretty frustrated that Lou wasn't out there towards the end of the game. Right. So I'm not going to count them out, but I'm definitely more worried than I was after game 1.
I agree. And Josh, I think we talked about this too much at this point, but if the Rockets make their threes, they're going to win the series. They didn't play that well today. And they still won the game. And like Jesse mentioned, there was no Westbrook. Is there going to be a better opportunity for the Thunder to win a game, or are they just going to have to go and take one?
I mean, the one little source of optimism that I have going forward is that Lou did so well guarding Harden. I mean, he only let Harden score 10 points. I mean, he really locked him down, and the Thunder could have done more with it, but they did have most control of the game and had the lead going to the fourth. It was a small lead, but they had the lead. They were in position to win the game, and Lou was on the floor at the end. So I hope Billy learns from that mistake, keeps Lou in. Anytime Harden's in, Lou should be in. Anytime. And hopefully that could make the difference down the stretch of a game. Of course, they have Russell Westbrook likely coming back. That's terrifying.
Will he now, though? Because there's really no pressure to bring him back now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could at least take game 3. I mean, since they're up 2-0. But, I mean, it's very disheartening. I never want to say something's over, especially only at 2-0. But, boy, it feels close. I mean, it's got to – hopefully Lou can – do that well again, and this time CP3 plays better. They have a shot, but it's a very narrow one.
I don't know. I'm a homer. Cody, it is quickly getting dark where you're at, and I'm afraid of bears. So let's go ahead and get your opinion on here. Do the Thunder have a shot here? They got to win 4 out of 6.
It's going to be tough. The Rockets defense has figured out our offense. What they're doing, they're just packing the paint. They're daring Dort to shoot. Adams isn't going to spread the floor and shoot. So they're putting 3 or 4 guys in the paint, and we're just not – number one, the ball's not moving as much. Number 2, players aren't moving as much. We're not setting screens. We're not running around the court. People are just stagnant and standing around. So unless we get that figured out, I don't really think there's a whole lot of hope in the rest of the series because our shots aren't falling from 3. And we're not manufacturing good points. We only had 3 players go to the line tonight, and that was Gallo, Shea, and Schroeder. So if
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Like I looked at those stats after, and I was just like,
unbelievable stat.
I was like, how is that even possible? How do only 3 players on our team go to the free throw line the entire game? Chris Paul didn't even have a free throw.
No.
So it's going to be a work of art. If we can come back, it's a work of art. If Russell comes back, I don't know. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be tough.
I would just at least hope that it's not status quo with Coach Donovan. I hope that either they try more small ball or, like I said, at the very least have Lou in at the end instead of Dennis or something, because clearly the way it is not going to get it done. I mean, it was Thunder outplayed the Rockets most of the game, but had a small lead, and then the Rockets outplayed the Thunder for the last 5 minutes, and it became a runaway. So, I mean, something's got to change.
Yeah, I agree, and fast, because the season could end. We can't let that happen, right? So, Game 3, Saturday at 5 p.m. on ESPN. I want to know your predictions. Jackson, the Thunder going to win this game?
They have to if they want any chance of coming back in the series. It's not a prediction. No. I do think coming back to the home court.
Right, it's at home now.
Yeah, pressure's on. I think they do pull out a win. I'd like to see them maybe go smaller. I wrote for the website about Baisley playing the 5. I'd like to see some of that and just switch everything the same way the Rockets are and see if it can work. But they're really going to have to put some more effort towards the boards for that to happen.
Yeah, more effort towards everything, pretty much. Jesse, Thunder win Game 3?
For my sanity, I hope so. I'm going to pick them to take Game 3. I just hope we can get more from Chris Paul and Dennis. I think we didn't really touch on Dennis a whole lot, but he definitely struggled towards the end of the game. And we just can't have that. So I don't like being super negative, but it was really hard watching them just kind of throw it away at the end tonight. So I'm hoping for a better showing in Game 3.
Yeah, I know. I think we all are. Cody, Game 3, win or loss?
I think they come out and I think they win. I think they're going to look back at this game, know that they should have won it with how they played. They had 14 turnovers compared to the Rockets 7. You clean up, taking care of the ball, you could probably make a little run. I think they will take Game 3. It's going to take, a really big effort from everybody to step up and do that, especially the 3 guards. But yeah, I think we can take the Game 3 and maybe we can tie this thing up at 2 going in back to Houston's home games.
Yeah, just have to win the home games, the all-important home games, because they are our gigantic heads on the screen and not Rockets fans. Josh, game 3, tell me what happens.
I mean, there's certainly a path to win. It's hard to pick these games and not think of the Thunder that we should be getting in what we got all year and not the team that we've seen these 2 games. I mean, if this team shows up again, no, there's no way they're going to win. If they play what they can, of course they could win, and they should. But based off what I've seen the first 2, even though I want them to win extremely bad, there's nothing that I've seen these first 2 that would make me think they're going to win game 3. I'm not expecting them to win game 3. I'm not.
Okay, well, I don't usually make predictions. This is for you guys. Thunder by 50, Thunder in 6. And
Hey, it's definitely not over. I said that, but
no, sir.
the confidence is not there for me. I don't know.
I have irrational confidence at all times. So, all right, that's it for tonight. And before we bum anyone out too much, I'm going to just end this show and play this guy. And we will see you back on Saturday after we've got a win. Good night.
Oklahoma, oh, City Thunder. Hey, hey, 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 we like to rock in the OKC, in the OKC.